You're live.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the very first ever live stream from LMA. My name is Aaron Thompson. I'm the founder of LMA, and with me today is a wonderful actor, improviser, performer, and teacher visiting us all the way from UCB in New York City, Mr. Ryan Karels.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun little experiment. Hopefully it's a successful one.
I think it's already successful.
Yes, we are winning.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there was a few things that we shared with everybody online earlier that we were going to go through today. I guess since you're new, you're on day 2 in Australia, just arrived.
Yep.
It'd be wonderful for people who aren't familiar with you to kind of understand a little bit about your background and how you came to be here.
All right. Well, I've been improvising at the upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York City since 2001. And how I got to be here, an Aussie came to, that's the politically correct term, right?
Aussie? You can say Aussie.
Okay. An Aussie came to the Upright Citizens Brigade and was in one of my classes and said, hey, would you ever want to come to Australia and teach improv? And I said, yes. And she said, all right. And that's how, then it was just easy, right after, things just happened and the ball got put in motion, and then I'm here. She reached out to Aaron, and Aaron reached out to me, and we got chatting and figured out a time when I can fly 24 hours to come over to the Southern Hemisphere, which I've never been in before.
Is that the longest amount of time you ever spent in airplanes?
Yes.
Yeah. And
easily.
It's I call it 3 movies and a nap, but how was it for you?
I think I did 2 movies, a nap, 2 more movies, and then some television programs.
Oh, right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So UCB, you were there. Did you say since 2001? So
Yeah,
that's
I
pretty early in the history of that school. You would have been there at the same time with people like Amy Poehler and the whole founding crew. Yeah, what was that like for you being around those guys?
I had no idea how good I had it back then because I wasn't a comedy nerd. Most of the people that were there then were total comedy nerds, and they sought it out because they knew of the show and everything like that. I came to improv because it scared me, and I was terrified of it. I had auditioned for a short form group in college, and it was a harrowing experience. And afterwards, I moved to New York City, and a friend of mine was taking a class at the UCB and thought I'd really like it, and I thought I should face my fear. And I fell in with just a great group of people, and it was cool. And the place has changed so much. For people that know the UCB now, it is such it's the largest improv school on the planet by just the amount of people that come through there. But back in the day, there was one classroom in an office above a convenience store, and you had to wait in line to sign up for classes. I think registration happened maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
And
that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
we've been there.
So I had no idea kind of what I was stepping into, but I really enjoyed it, and I just kept being there, and it was really neat to see how that place evolved and changed, and I evolved and changed, and I don't know, at some point I started performing on a house team there, and I started teaching there in 2007, and yeah,
here we are.
Here we are.
I want to go back to something you said a minute ago about improv scaring you and how you want to face your fears. One of the things that we often hear from people is, oh, I really would love to come take a class at LMA. It looks like so much fun, but I'm too afraid. I'm too scared. I could never do that. And we always tell people, yes, you can, and that's exactly why you should come. Can you just elaborate a little bit more for people who are maybe on the fence about improv, or for whom it might be a new thing that they're just starting to explore? Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, I think it's like trying to jump into a cold pool of water, and it's the kind of thing where you want to go swimming, but you put your toes in and it's freezing, and you're like, I don't know. maybe that's just me. I have a hard time getting into a cold pool of water. And but after you jump in and then it warms up and you're like, oh, why did I make such a big deal about it before? Not to oversimplify it, but it is scary if you've never done it before. And after you do it, in hindsight, everything is like, what was I afraid of? So, but you never know until you actually do it, until you put yourself out there.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then you realize, oh, I had nothing to be afraid of the whole time.
What do you think, having been through that experience, and then obviously, over a decade, nearly two at doing it in New York. Yeah, right. Sorry, that was on the note discussing list.
Yeah.
But like, how would you say improv has improved your life, and in general, how would you say improv can generally improve the life of people who get involved?
How it's improved my life, the most important thing is the people that I've met and the people that I've worked with. I have met some of my best friends, and I have had some of the most amazing performance experiences doing improv. And the most exciting thing about it is improv takes you out of your comfort zone. It puts you into situations that you would never put yourself in otherwise. And by supporting other people's ideas and working with a team, you can surprise yourself and you can do things that you never thought that you would do, and it's enlightening. I don't know, it's the place where it's just people all sharing ideas and collaborating, and it's because it exists only for itself, only in the moment. People aren't so precious with it, and it's just a transformative experience. I don't know how else.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, I mean, one of the things that we talk about a lot is, especially for people coming in at a level 1 class, is we look at sort of like almost like from a life skills point of view. Like, I want to get better at dealing with my boss. I want to get better at talking to strangers, thinking on my feet at work, or I just got a new job where I have to present to rooms full of people. What sort of benefits did you kind of pick up from your improv training that impacted your kind of real life off stage and off camera?
Yeah, it made me, not to get too into this is a weird kind of mental thing, but it made me not so precious with my ideas. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, is they think, oh, I have an idea and this is the best idea ever and it's the most important thing, and they get nervous about sharing it and they want to make it perfect before they put it out into the world. And in improv, it's just put it out there, and you realize that, or I realize that I have a lot of bad ideas, but every once in a while there's a great one. Yeah. And you never get just that chance to just burn through all kinds of whims that you do in improv, and you get to see what resonates with other people, and a lot of times it's not what you expected. Right. And the thing that you think is going to be amazing comes out and people are like, okay. And the thing that you're not even anticipating will be awesome, everybody responds to. Right. And it's a perspective shift. I don't know, it puts you in a group mind, and it takes you out of your own bubble. And it's just the most exciting way to learn what being a human's all about, I think.
That's great. Yeah, I love that you said group mind too, because obviously the style of improv that we teach here is all about long form ensemble, right? I've got your back, you've got my back, we've got their back. Together we've all going to make each other look good and support each other and make each other look like poets and geniuses and masterminds of our craft. And it's not the kind of solo, I'm alone in this thing that a lot of people think of when they walk into their first class. Like, do I have to be funny? Do I have to be a great performer? The answer is no, and I think you would agree that that's part of the wonderful thing about improv, is that you're not on your own trying to make something work.
Yeah, I think I get for me it's a lot like the Jungle Book. In Jungle Book, I haven't seen this movie Jungle Book, but I hear it's quite popular. But there's a song where, like,
we'll put a link in the notes.
Yeah, it's this new thing you've never heard of, but there's a song, right, where like there's a boy who lives in a jungle and there's like a snake, right, and he's like walking and the snake is always where his feet go. It's a stair. I don't know. There's something like that. But you don't. It's not about you being funny. It's about how you support other people's ideas, and everybody catches each other, and it elevates everybody else to a place that you wouldn't go yourself.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So while you're here, you're going to be doing, you're going to be teaching levels 2 and level 3 at LMA, and running a series of weekend workshops over 4 different weekends. And why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the workshops that you're going to run? I think there's one called Way of the Samurai.
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
So a long time ago, I read this book called The Hagakure, The Way of the Samurai, and it's a bunch of like old samurai wisdom, written by a guy named Yamamoto Tsunetomo. And reading it, I thought, God, this is a really great book on improv. Just kind of the mindset that it takes to be an improv. And it's that samurai mindset of just total service to, in the samurai lingo, to your master. And in the improv lingo, it's total service to your scene partner, and doing everything that you can to sacrifice your own ideals for what your scene partner wants. And if everybody does that, it just happens. And the other thing that I like about the samurai mentality is it takes away deliberation. It takes away the kind of hesitating on your idea and trying to get it out, and everything about that mentality is just be bold, go for it. As the samurai said, you fix the 4 vows in your heart and just make a move, and if you do that, you will never go far from your mark. And in improv, I think it's if you are being truthful, if you are supporting your teammate, and if you're being human and you're having fun, it's going to be something exciting, and it's going to be worthwhile to watch. And it's a nice way to kind of cut through some of the clutter of overthinking your moves and trying to get stuff perfect, and just really tap into being totally spontaneous in service of your scene partner.
Well, I'm sold. I can't wait to take that one. That sounds great.
No, it's fun. It's one of the most fun classes that I've taught at the UCB in New York, and I've done it 3 times with 3 different groups.
And it's totally safe. No blades involved.
No blades.
Okay.
We have tried. It's also it's experimental. I've tried some weird stuff, but we had a lot of fun improv fights with any sort of pantomime objects. But it's cool.
Cool. And let's see, there's another workshop you're going to run on a different weekend called No Crazies.
No Crazies.
Yeah, tell us about No Crazies.
This is, I don't know if it's me being kind of a curmudgeon, but it's really been my focus the last 3 years, I guess, at the UCB, which is, so often a scene will start, or a herald will start, or an improv show will start, and people are just insane. And it's a hard place if you start there. Where do you build and where do you heighten to? Everything about the herald is we're going to start with these truthful ideas, and we're going to work on them, and we're going to keep on heightening them throughout the show to get to something transformative. And I think people come into an improv set and they think it has to be totally transformative at minute 1.
Right.
And that's hard. It's really hard, and you're probably gonna you're gonna make a desperate move that is not gonna be so great. But just by kind of trusting each other and being real, and find it's not the shiniest toy in the box, right? But it's the toy that has the most truth to it, and you just keep on playing with that, and we're gonna make it something transformative. And I think a lot of times people make crazy choices. I think it's a little bit of a lazy thing.
Right.
I think it's just comedians being lazy, and so they kind of do whatever they want. But if you use just reality as a bounds, it helps you make more inspired choices. And I try to frame it in the way of there are a lot of writers come through the improv program. There's a lot of people that want to be performers, but there's a lot of people that are just there to work on their writing craft. Mm-hmm. And if you have a sitcom that's running on the air for 5 years, 10 years, or 1 year, people aren't insane. You know, at the end of each episode, it has to come back, and the world, we're going to come back to it. And so how do you make those funny choices without reverting to just something insane that could never, we can't see what would happen next because, you know, these people are nuts. You gotta, it forces you to be a little bit more creative, I think. It's a constraint. I think artists a lot of times kind of buck at having constraints on their art, but there's also plenty of artists that will say that constraints are what force you to be more creative.
Yeah.
And I think using reality and the real world as a constraint can force you to just come up with some really inspired choices.
Cool. So no crazies.
No crazies.
And let's see, you're doing 2 other ones. Just quickly, tell us about, is it Gator?
The Gator.
The Gator, yeah.
You
get a lot of deadly, you know, I feel like if you take this way of the samurai, you'd be fully prepared to fend off the Gators. That's just me not knowing anything. But
no, yeah, that works again.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, comedy's dangerous, so that's
Yeah.
why all my metaphors are dangerous. The Gator, the first improv team that I ever worked with, we're called Crump, and it's 4 of us, a guy named Joe Wenger, a guy named Neil Casey, a woman named Amy Gerlich, and me. And we started doing indie shows around New York for years, and we performed at the Del Close Marathon. We made breakfast for the entire theater for 15 years. And the form
so
that
Gator is a cooking class.
There's it's
Scrambling
really,
eggs and
I'm just tricking
fried
everybody
bacon.
I'm just hungry, and I want people to make me food. The Gator is the form that we did, and it's kind of tailored to kind of indie shows, pop-up shows, whereas a Herald is traditionally like 25 minutes. The Gator is designed to be 15, 20 minutes. And it's a way of kind of condensing the beginnings of a show, of a traditional Herald, kind of putting, not to get too into the lingo, but like first beats and second beats kind of together. Yeah, it's a way of just kind of getting right into it.
Cool. Great.
Yeah.
And then the last workshop, probably the thing that UCB is most well known for is game theory, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us a little bit for people who may not know or may have misconceptions about what that means. Be great to kind of just get your definition and perspective on what game theory means in terms of improv in general versus maybe UCB only, and what specifically they'll learn in that workshop.
Yeah, the UCB's approach, their thing is the game of the scene. That's their philosophical inroad to improv. And the way I just, there's improv all over. Right? Yeah, there's improv. It came out of Chicago, but there's specific flavors at the Groundlings, and there's a different flavor if you go to Second City, and there's a different flavor if you go to the UCB. And at the end of it, it's funny, right? Funny wins, and it's my Bruce Lee quote. They're all fingers pointing the way to the moon, and you can't concentrate on the finger because you miss out on all of the heavenly glory. It's cooler when Bruce Lee says it. And the UCB that's just one finger pointing the way to the moon, and the moon in this case is having a funny scene. And game it's a method of getting everybody on the same page. Just like all of the other schools and traditions kind of do it, but the UCB has kind of tapped into one particular methodology that distills down what's funny and breaks it down into a few elements that I think invites people. It kind of demystifies, why is that thing funny? And the whole philosophy of game is saying, okay, well, we can talk about why that thing is funny. And we can break it down into what's weird and why is that weird. And if you have those 2 components, then that gives you it's kind of the beginning of your algorithm that you can then find the other things that are going to be funny on there.
As part of that, if this is true, then what else is true?
Yeah. So it's kind of like coming up with that first algorithm that this is what is funny about this, and it gives you a direction. It's not like a railroad track. It's just a direction, because it can keep on heightening any way that it's going to be. But Yeah, it's a method to get everybody on the same page, and it's, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You know, it's a very successful school, and it's a very successful philosophy, but it's not the only one. But a lot of people are curious about it and want to know what that is.
Yeah. Well, if you're curious about it, come along to Ryan Karels' UCB Game Theory Workshop at LMA later this month. In Sydney, you'll be running, I think, 3 of those workshops, and in Melbourne, we've advertised one, but if there's a particular workshop that our Melbourne students really, really are excited about, let us know in the comments or on the website. Drop us a note. Let us know which one of the workshops Ryan's just described you're most excited about signing up for, and whichever one gets the most votes, that will probably be the one we put on. Mm-hmm. I guess the last thing that I touched on it before, but our level 1 classes at LMA are very introductory, a little bit more life skills focused than performer focused, and it's at levels 2 and beyond where people start to kind of dive into some of the deeper, more meaningful work. So since you're teaching levels 2 and 3 here this term, could you talk a little bit about how that work could potentially help people with auditions or developing characters or in scripted work even, since you're now a working actor? So it'd be great to get your perspective on those things.
Yeah, I think the first thing that is really great about it is when I mentioned about like not being so precious with your ideas and just being willing to see what works and being flexible with it. I think a lot of times people, without kind of not improv training necessarily, but without the repetition of just getting in front of an audience and getting with a group of people and seeing what pops with them, they'll try one thing, and if it doesn't work, then they'll get bitter and they'll try to double down on why this thing doesn't work, and they can force their way, and maybe it's just not funny. You know, there's things that are interesting to you and make you laugh, but maybe they don't make other people laugh, and that's okay. Yeah. I think people kind of forget, they'll watch a stand-up show, right? You like pick a stand-up comedian that you think is awesome. And when you see their Netflix special or their HBO special or whatever it is, what you don't see is the 20 shows that they did where they workshopped all those jokes. Yeah. And they're coming out and they're confident with all of those jokes. And improv, it's not that you are working on the same thing over and over again, but you're working on just getting your voice out there and seeing how it responds, and being willing to be flexible is something that improv really does for you. And so I think those are the things when you're going into developing a character, it helps just your perspective on it. So I don't know, it's easy. Even me, like if I'm working on a new character, there's plenty of things. I had one, this was an idea I had on my bike. I was on my way into the city for one of an improv show, and it made me laugh so much. And I went into I was working with a character show called Characters Welcome at the UCB, and I pitched this, and everybody was like, okay, and I thought it was funny. It made me laugh out loud. And it's not that, I'm an idiot for thinking that. It's just, that's what life is, right? Yeah. There's plenty of things that are funny to you that aren't funny to other people, and that's why you have to work with other people. You have to collaborate, and you have to be willing to go, okay, but
you have to bomb before you can kill.
Yeah, right? and it's not that that idea sucks. It's just that maybe there's a nugget in there that isn't quite fully formed. And there's plenty of times that you'll do an improv scene and maybe there's just something about it that sticks out and it becomes the basis for a character or for something else. And even away from performance, when it gets into just real life with other people, and not that comedians for the most part are kind of, I don't know, we're all weird and crazy and just balls of insecurity. But there's something, I see them, comedians, when they go into interviews or when they start working with strangers, it's just not such a big deal because you've done that. Yeah. And I think that's part of that, just like doing it and doing it and doing it. And I think of, somebody said, who the greatest figure skaters in the world, right? What makes them better than anybody else? What is undeniable that a figure skater has done, a world champion, gold medal winning figure skater, has fallen more than any other figure skater. And so they're not afraid about it. Yeah. And that's the big deal. Now, so when they go for the quadruple axel, they might fall, but they're not worried about it because they've done it and they know that they can get back up and it's no big deal. And I think that's what improv does, is you've said amazing things, you've said stupid things, you've said things that have surprised you. And so when you get into situations in the real world, it's just kind of demystified a little bit. And you're not so afraid of looking like an idiot, because we look like idiots every day in a safe rehearsal space. So it makes it easier to go out and take the risks that you want to do. I mean, how often do you leave a situation and you go, I should have said that. Yeah. You know, oh, I should have done that. If only I would have done that. And I think the improvisers have an easier time in the moment to go, all right, well, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to do it because I know what that feeling is like of having regrets on the other side, and I don't want that feeling, so I'm going to try it. And I'm going to trust that I'm going to be okay.
Or I have no friends now.
Or I have no friends, and everybody hates me.
Well, I think you're going to have plenty of friends. Make plenty of friends here in Sydney and
Please
Melbourne.
be my friend.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you here. It's been wonderful to have this chat, and I can't wait to spend the next rest of the term learning from you, and I'm sure our students are going to have a great time in your classes and in your workshops. There's still workshop spaces available now, so you can register on the website. The easy to remember URL is www.improv.school, so get yourself there, sign up, don't miss this chance to work with Ryan while he's in town from the Upright Citizens Brigade in New York City. Thank you.
Come on out.